It is Tuesday, February 24th. It's 7 o'clock p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation. All right, we'll start off with roll call.
Mayor Scott Nickel.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Adam Dyer. Councilmember Susan Romy. Here. Councilmember David Nutt.
Here.
Councilmember Neil Yorio. Here. Also in attendance, City Manager John Coffey and City Attorney Carl Bone.
Okay. Skip item number 4 since we're all here. Next is additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda, if any. Does anyone on council have any changes? Okay. Moving along to item number 6, we have presentations, proclamations, and introductions. Chief Butler, I understand you have a couple of those.
Thank you, Council. First, I'd like to introduce our newest member of the Indian Harbor Beach family, Greg Morrison. Greg, if you can come on up. Greg is our new 911 PST manager. He oversees our comm center. A little bit about Greg. Greg hails from New York. We're not holding that against him. He has an extensive background in public safety, spanning both law enforcement and fire services. He began his career as a dispatcher for the Otsego County Communication Center. From there, he became a 911 PST with the Otsego County Sheriff's Office. He liked it so much, he became a deputy. So he went to the police academy, became a certified deputy. At the same time, he began his firefighter paramedic career with the Mount Vision Fire Department. He liked them both so much, he couldn't decide, did he want to be a police officer, did he want to be a fireman? So he did both for 25 years. Full-time, both jobs for 25 years. I've never even heard of that. After he retired, he moved to Florida, where he accepted a position with the Titusville Police Department as a 911 PST. He quickly rose, his dedication and leadership stood out, and he quickly rose to the rank of supervisor and then the manager at the Titusville Police Department. He does an excellent job. On a personal note, kind of a small world. Officer Jen, we all know Officer Jen, right? He actually worked with his father as a deputy sheriff when his father was and he knew Jen as a young girl, and now they're on the same team working in law enforcement. 25 years later, 1,500 miles out. So it's kind of funny how life comes full circle. We're thrilled to have, he's married. We're thrilled to have him as part of the team. He's already hit the ground running, made some small adjustments. I know he's been a big help with the police department, big help with the fire chief. He can attest to all the work he's doing for him. He's doing a great job, and we're blessed to have him on the force. Anything you want to say?
Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving the citizens to the best of my abilities. I've got 38 years in public safety. I think I got another 15 or 20 to go.
Yeah.
It's only one job, so it should be easy, right?
It's a retirement job.
All right, thanks. Greg. Thanks. Okay. Now we get to announce our Officer of the Year. The Indian Harbor Beach Police Department, it was very tough to pick our Officer of the Year. We have so many officers that do such an outstanding job. We've had Enith Claremont. She was one of our Officers of the Quarter. We had Officer Richardson. Dennis Richardson was one of our Officers of the Quarter. Gabe Perez was one of our Officers of the Quarter. And Officer Capel was our last Officer of the Quarter. Everyone does an outstanding job, so it's very hard to just pick one from that list. So what we did was we had a vote with all the sergeants, and we selected our Officer of the Year. I'm pleased to announce Officer Dennis Richardson as our Officer of the Year. Usually when we select Officer of the Year, it's usually for one or two outstanding performances. Well, that's not the case here. He's just done a great job all year. He hasn't been with us very long, but he's become part of the family. He embodies our motto, we serve, we care. You go anywhere in the city, they ask, do you know Officer Richards, Officer Dennis? Do you know Officer Dennis? Everyone knows him already. He just does an outstanding job. He comes in every day with a positive attitude. He embodies our community policing philosophy. On top of that, he's handled over 2,000 calls for service. He leads the department in arrest, citations, warning citations, case reports. I mean, he kind of does it all. You would think all that. He also leads the department in thank you letters. As you guys have remembered from all the thank you letters that go through the council. He just does an outstanding all year long. We're glad to have him part of the team. He's quickly fit in, and he just does an outstanding job. So for all those reasons, he was named our Officer of the Year for 2025. Congratulations. This is his plaque, the Superman logo. I'll let you hold it and get a picture. Oh.
At least that didn't happen in front of the rest of your brothers, so remind me about it later. So
I think that's a historical first. All right, that's good. Everybody go. All righty. Moving along to item number 7A is muck removal workshop. This approval of minutes. Muck removal workshop minutes, February 10th, 2026. Does anyone have any comments or edits or? Okay. Hearing none, I will sign those into the record. Item 7B is regular city council meeting minutes from February 10th, 2026. Any changes, any edits? Okay, let's sign those as well. On to item number 8, which is reports. 8A, city manager's report, city manager Coffee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, city council members, residents here and watching at home. First item, pleased to announce the joint special meeting with the city council of Satellite Beach regarding the muck removal project is scheduled for 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 11th, 2026 at their Civic Center. Late last week, I signed the attached bid of approximately $35,000 to repair the City Hall elevator, with funding to be transferred from the manager's contingency account. Of note, it took a little while to get this signed because I was hesitant to sign the first bid. The second bid came in lower, but they had some words on the front page that says, if we do this project, we won't guarantee the elevator will work. Didn't have a lot of confidence there. So they wanted to do $79,000 of work rather than what we asked for. So they have started the repairs. We hope the elevator is back in service soon. Finance Council Office reconfiguration project update. The contractor is expected to be on site this Thursday. During that time, Assistant Comptroller Zeckman will be working at one of the council members' desks. So if you have business in your office, you'll have company for a couple weeks. Attached are the FY25 audit engagement letters. Communications manager position updated. The job posting, the advertisement was posted on February 12th with a closing date of March 13th. We anticipate the person being on staff in May. Per requirements of the city charter, the end of January revenue and expenditure report is attached. Approximately 49% of general fund revenues have been received and 27% of the budget expended. 25% of the ARPA fund budget is expended. With the work going out there of the subsurface piping install, that number is going to climb rapidly, quickly. Additionally, I recently received correspondence as attached from Waste Management. Per our franchise agreement, their annual rate adjustment for 2026, which is based on a CPI index, is 3.85%. New rates are effective 1st of March. The legislative tracker is attached. There is some debate among lobbyists in Tallahassee whether they will actually end on March 13th or not. Employee recognition. No, it's not Officer Dennis this week, but Police Corporal Oakes. Chief Butler received a handwritten thank you note about Corporal Oakes in appreciation of his response to a fire alarm and that he ensured her safety and stayed to check on her well-being. Additionally, I received the attached handwritten thank you note from residents about Public Works Director Scaldo and his crew on how they keep Gleason Park in good shape and for repairing a bench that they donated in memory of their parents. Tentative items for the next meeting is we have a proclamation. Jamestown Condo Owners Association President is going to make a short presentation. If you recall, the council prior to this approved a forgiveness of code liens that they said they were going to use the money to repair their buildings, and he wants to give you an update on that. And scheduled is public hearing, second reading of the Wildflower Ordinance and public hearing and first reading of the Boats and Trailer Ordinance. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is item 8B, which is City Attorney's Report.
I'm speechless tonight, sir.
Wow. Okay. Next is council comments. Ordinarily, I go with the deputy mayor first, but I'm going to go to the right side instead because I don't want Councilmember Nutt to feel like he's in last place every time. So, floor is yours.
I've been absent for the last couple of weeks, but I do want to make some accommodations that I've talked to the fire department with. The volunteer fire department's doing such a great job as far as maintaining what we have been maintaining. And I noticed that we're trying to keep up with the hours worked with what we have with the part-time personnel. Is that correct? And they've done, every time I've turned around, I've been seeing more calls and calls go out, and you guys are responding. You're on the spot, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, and you guys are doing a great job, and I thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Yorio.
Yeah, it might not be obvious or it might not be well known amongst the citizens of our city, but if you're an elected official in the state of Florida, you have to take a elected officials ethics training class, which I took on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday, but it was. I had to say it was very, very beneficial and very useful to learn about a lot of the requirements that elected officials have to follow. And so I felt it was an extremely important learning experience for me, and I think I'm thankful that that service or that training has been made available to those of us who are new at this position.
Councilmember Romy.
Well, I am thrilled to share with you that this statue in Gleason Park for the Veterans Memorial is up. John, do you have a picture? Oh, that's okay. Well, you'll all have to be surprised. But we're in the middle of getting the plaque done, and we will have a ribbon cutting. Maybe it'll coincide with somewhere around our possible golf cart parade for Patriots Day. But Todd Scaldo's not here, but very thankful to him because this was a long process, and I'm happy it's almost done. So you'll have to see it once the final product is there. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Dyer.
Also, I'm sure everybody's heard about it, but just some of the details of the Florida House approved the property tax elimination to go to the ballot, I believe, on the 16th, and they made a couple amendments which drastically changed the language in the original proposal. I just highly encourage every resident in Florida to do as much research as possible on the causal effects of that potential decision moving forward. And I know the city's going to be compiling as much information as we can to help make informed decisions. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. And I would echo those comments. The benefit that is being proposed out there is not likely to be realized ultimately for each of the homeowners, the homesteaded homeowners, that is, because there will be costs involved that have to help the city recoup some of the revenue. There's no avoiding that. It just has to happen. We have to be able to operate. We have to have enough money to operate. So just, again, echoing his comments, I encourage you all to look at what's in the bill, what is being proposed, and keep a close eye on this because it's not always what it appears to be, things that are proposed. And we all know, we've seen those bills get passed for various things. I mean, sure, you can go back to the lottery money. You know, when that happened, that was all supposed to go to schools. Well, it does, but it also, they gutted the budget at the time to remove funding for schools, and it just simply replaced it is what it did. So we don't want to have the same thing happen. We want everybody to be educated about this moving forward. So please take some time and educate yourselves as much as you possibly can. That's it for me. On to public comments on non-public hearing agenda items only. What I'm going to do is, because later in the agenda on item 10A is the first reading of ordinance number 2026-04, which is the Wildflowers thing. I'm going to go ahead and, that's not technically a public hearing, so I will go ahead but I'm going to go ahead and make it that since there's several public speaker cards there. So when that comes up, that'll be the time I'll call your names. You can come up and have your 3 minutes to speak. No unfinished business. On to new business, item 10A. First reading of ordinance number 2026-04, which is Wildflowers. City Clerk, if you read that into the record.
Ordinance number 2026-04, an ordinance of the City of Indian Harbor Beach, Brevard County, Florida, amending Chapter 10, Maintenance Standards for Improved and Unimproved Property Regulations of the City, amending Section 10-2, Lawns and Weeds on Improved Property, providing provisions relating to native plant and/or wildflower areas on improved property, providing for conflict severability, incorporation, and effective date.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take some public input on this. The first person is Brian Burns. You come up, state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes. If you state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Brian Burns. I live at 203 Harbor Drive West, Indian Harbor Beach over there. It's my, I've just come to learn that are you going for an approval process for wildflowers in your yards? Is that what's happening?
It's setting the framework to under certain circumstances to allow for that. It's an application process, a formal application process.
Okay. See, I don't know why there has to be an approval process. I have, at my house, I've basically taken my front landscape and devoted it to wildflowers, with the exception of mango trees. And the neighbors don't understand that plants go through a life cycle. Okay? And they don't understand what they're looking at. Now, I have received a letter from Code, late 225. Okay, she came by my house also, and she didn't know what was in my yard. And I sent her, okay, an inventory of all the wildflowers that's in my front yard. Okay. And, you know, I see a lot of violations of code in my neighborhood that isn't enforced. It seems to be a club that your neighbors hit you with. Because I don't know if there's like a history, a code violation history, but I have been cited for my trash cans. Okay? They were in front of my garage. And the way the code enforcement informed me is they only act upon complaints. Okay? And what happens is if you were standing in my driveway and looked around, you'd see violations of the green trash cans everywhere. So I've tried to make my landscape Florida friendly. And I've even installed solar panels. I've got a Tesla Powerwall. So I try my best, okay? And it's just impossible with wildflowers to keep it 3 inches. Because you've got shrubs and you've got some plants that are 12 inches. Some flowers will reach over 2 feet. Okay? Sometimes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker is Rhonda Mayo.
Rhonda Mayo, 117 Algonquin Terrace. First of all, I'd like to say that I commend the city's efforts to support native plant landscaping. The city has made significant progress in promoting sustainability and protecting and supporting natural habitats. And I believe the city has good intentions with this ordinance, and it will officially endorse native plants in natural landscaping. I think that's a positive. But I think as it's written, it will actually have the opposite effect of what is intended and will potentially discourage folks from adopting managed natural landscapes. So a major concern is the requirement for homeowners to obtain a permit to be exempt from this 8-inch vegetation height limit. I think it places an unnecessary burden on the folks, the homeowners who are trying to do the right thing and plant native plants. By requiring paperwork, it's going to add additional time for them. You know, maybe people are busy. They have maybe a few minutes or a few hours on the weekend. They want to go out, get their plants and start planting. They've got to get a permit. If they go ahead and plant and then get the permit and it's denied, it's burdensome. And it also raises several questions. What exactly will the permit require? What is the criteria for approval? Is it objective? Is it clearly defined? Will existing native landscapes be allowed to remain without permits? Must homeowners update their permits every time they add a new plant? There needs to be clarification on some of the definitions and the terms in the ordinance. what is a weed. The definition of a weed is a plant that's simply growing where you don't want it. So it's a perception, or everybody has a different idea of what a weed is. And many plants that are commonly called weeds are actually native plants that are host plants for our butterflies. So also, what defines a wildflower? So again, I think there are good intentions here, but I think it's placing the burden and the onus on the wrong people to solve these problems of the few people who are maybe having out of control landscapes. So I hope the council will, at the very least, reconsider how this is written.
You. Next is Dennis Mayo.
I'm Dennis Mayo. I live at 117 Algonquin also. I'm glad she went first because she had all the details in there, and I get to sort of go into the realm of what if. First, I want to commend the city for the support on native plants also, and for the continued efforts for removing invasive plants from Gleason Park. While I've been over there working on the native plant area that we've been putting in over there, I've gotten to talk to a lot of people that have, when they've walked by there, and they have been very supportive and appreciative of what the city's been doing in managing and upgrading the park. So, but regarding the proposal of 2026-4, I believe it moves us in the wrong direction. Requiring residents to obtain permits simply to include plants in their yards that have existed in Florida for longer than humans have been here just feels wrong. Native plants are naturally adapted to Florida's environment and nutrient-poor soils. They survive on rainfall alone and don't require fertilizers or pesticides. Turf lawns, by contrast, come with significant environmental costs. They demand large amounts of water and depend on chemicals to maintain their appearance. As monocultures, they fail to attract the beneficial insects that help take care of the pests, and which then leads to more pesticide use. These chemicals eventually make their way into our water sources, damaging the Indian River Lagoon, and accumulate up the food chain, posing risks to human health. Globally, wildlife populations have declined by an average of 73% since 1970. These losses are driven by habitat loss and degradation, the spread of invasive species, pesticide use, climate change, parasites, and diseases. Instead of creating barriers to native landscaping, which can help slow down or stop this trend, we need to be educating residents about the essential role native plants and animals play in sustaining life on Earth. We should be encouraging the conversion of turf lawns to native plant habitats and prioritizing the removal of invasive species. Highly manicured lawns simply cannot compete compared to functioning native ecosystems when it comes to supporting biodiversity and ecological health. I once heard it said, modern society will find no solution to the ecological problem unless it takes a serious look at its lifestyle. This is the moment for us to take that look and to choose policies to support rather than hinder the restoration of Florida's natural species.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, that's it for the public speakers. So I'll bring it back to council for discussion. I will start with our deputy mayor, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you, sir. So just a couple of things I would like to state. After reading the ordinance, I don't agree with, some of the comments that the city's against wildflowers. Obviously, it's not, and it's just creating a process to keep them kind of, from getting out of hand. Obviously, if the city's has a long history of being very reasonable, and obviously if you show up and there's effort on manicured and maintaining the process, it's going to be met, in the middle. It's just there has to be some sort of balances that cover the extremes, right? And I don't think any of these people here that spoke are going to be any of those situations. So that's pretty much all I had to say about,
Okay. Councilmember Romy.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking, because it's so interesting to hear it all. Where I live, there's one house that has all native plants, and they have a sign out front, and it explains what the native plants are, and it's great. And then right next door is a house that has the lawn overgrown, where I can't even walk my dog because there's, the stickers come out on the sidewalk. So I see both sides of this. I probably would also agree it does seem unfair for people to have to get a permit to be able to grow native plants. But I see both sides, so I think we probably need to reword this a little bit.
Okay. Councilmember Yoria.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking on this subject. It's something that's very important to me personally. I've prepared some notes, so I'm going to go through them. A lot of them are going to be complementary to what we heard the public comments already provided today. But first is, generally speaking, there's a lot of conflicting language that was pointed out by Rhonda in the existing landscape code, and the amendment to the ordinance also contributes to that conflicting language. So I'm going to go through just a couple things here real quick to make examples of that conflicting language. One of them is in 107-2 general requirements for landscaping, lawn grass. Grass is defined as species normally grown as permanent lawns in the city. So I think we all know what that means. I don't think there's any confusion there. But that the landscaping code also considers the use of ground covers in lieu of grass. So if no grass, then a ground cover. And they can be planted in such a manner to present a finished appearance, reasonably complete coverage within 3 months after planting. So there's already an encouragement for ground covers. There's a definition for what lawn grass is, or turf grass. And then in section 10-2 specifically refers to lawn turf grass needs to be maintained at or below 8 inches. I don't think anyone is going to argue that lawn grass should be mowed to 8 inches or less. And that ground covers are okay, and there's no height specifically defined in the existing ordinance. The last sentence in paragraph 2 of section 10-2 says, nothing in this section shall prohibit xeriscaping or the use of Florida-friendly plants. And I'll comment that I would include that Florida-friendly plants includes Florida native plants. So looking at the intent of the ordinance modification that's being proposed and discussed this evening, it seems the desire is to prevent people from not maintaining a turf grass lawn as defined in 107-2-3F of the existing code, specifically to turf grass height, presence of weeds in the turf grass lawn. If a homeowner doesn't have, so here's an example, if a homeowner doesn't have a turf grass lawn, then by default, the ordinance doesn't apply. So there's no definition of what a wildflower or native plant are in the ordinance, so it's subjective to interpretation, which was mentioned earlier. And the ordinance modification also suggests that the Tree Preservation Board is responsible for reviewing that permit. And the Tree Preservation Board's charter is to provide education and guidance on developing and improving the tree canopy in Indian Harbor Beach, which clearly seems to be out of their scope. So the review, if a permit is required, should not be with the Tree Preservation Board. And the other IHB-appointed board, Planning and Zoning, doesn't review any permits. So it's unprecedented for them to have to review a permit that's, in my opinion, out of their scope. So it is my suggestion that in the ordinance modification, to recommend keeping the first 2 sentences in the ordinance amendment and add verbiage that states the property owners may not designate a native plant or wildflower area within, and I emphasize within and underline it, their lawns as defined by the existing ordinance. So in other words, it gets around the person not maintaining their lawn and calling it a native wildflower garden. You just don't put grass in it. So basically the bottom line is, and I know this is very long-winded, but if you have a turf grass lawn, the ordinance says you must maintain it. If you don't have a turf grass lawn, you may plant Florida-friendly or native plants as long as they don't violate any other part or provision of the landscape code. So I think it's pretty clear, that the requirement for a permit, in my opinion, is not necessary for the reasons that I just outlined here.
Okay. Councilmember Nutt.
Are you saying that there's no, under the current verbiage that we have, that it doesn't require them to have to get a permit, correct?
Currently, there's no permit requirement in the landscape ordinance. It's a suggested to the
Correct.
amendment to the ordinance.
Correct.
To have a permit to have a wildflower or Florida-friendly component of their lawn.
Right.
So if it's not in the lawn, right?
Yes,
So
I
my yard,
understand.
I have no grass.
I understand.
I can grow whatever I want in my yard as long as it's not grass, because I don't have to mow it. I'm using this as an example. And it doesn't violate any of the existing ordinances.
Understood. I understand that. I just want to I want to make sure that as a council that we get this right. So as Councilmember Romy mentioned, the fact that we need to maybe address some of the verbiage in this and revisit it. I am a big advocate of trying to stick with our native plants and try to keep some of these nitrates out of our water system as much as possible. It's a big thing to me because right now we're having to go through meetings just to figure out how we're taking care of muck removal. So I think that, but if you have turf, it's well defined with grasses, and if it is 8 inches or more, yes, it is in violation. So, but then again, we need to work on some verbiage, I think. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I certainly don't have any problem with revisiting this ordinance and the ordinance language. I think that, especially if there's conflicts in it, we need to identify those, we need to correct those. And I certainly don't mind taking another look at another draft of the ordinance that's cleaned up a bit. And then the issue of the Tree Preservation Board reviewing permits. I don't know if that's the actual language or if it's just reviewing the drawings that are a drawing or sketch or whatever it is that's submitted, if it's reviewing that. And I think the intent of that was, that board has the expertise to identify and determine what constitutes native plantings, wildflowers, et cetera, versus, and I think what we're trying to do here is you've got these folks that just choose not to maintain their yards, period. And whether it's a turf lawn or native grasses or what have you, they just choose to just totally ignore the reasonable maintenance requirements. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to keep that from happening. So if we need to revisit this, we need to look at different language of the ordinance. I have no problem whatsoever with doing so. And it might not be a bad idea to put this back through the Tree Preservation Board for their suggestions on language changes.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, staff tried to draft something. Honestly, didn't get much guidance on what y'all wanted, okay? So, we tried to do what we could do, and certainly no pride in authorship, so, let's get this right, absolutely. I do want to address one thing about the Tree Preservation Board. The board has a list of duties, and there's a catch-all that says any other duties assigned by the city council, so that's why we thought it would be okay. If you don't want it, that's fine. We just tried to come up with something for y'all to look at. And maybe one of the things we can do, instead of trying to define ad nauseum native plants and wildflowers in the ordinance, we might want to have the ordinance say we can adopt the plant list or the whatever by resolution. This way we can change it easier than having to amend an ordinance if one particular plant doesn't work. So that's another thing we could look at as well.
One of the main concerns I had about the tree board having to review things like this was because eventually when it came out of planning and zoning board, that the tree preservation board was specifically for education only. And I didn't know if we were kind of overstepping our boundaries by using them in this manner.
I don't think so, but that's why that catch-all's there. But again, staff will do whatever y'all want us to do.
I think the tree preservation board has enough expertise on there right now to recommend quite a bit. I think they're very well educated. I know that, and they know exactly what they're talking about. So I have a lot of confidence in them, but I just didn't want them overstepping their boundaries according to how they were approved as a board.
We're fine with that from the staff.
And it's also a question of, who do you want reviewing this as well? So, with all due respect to Mr. Wiles, our building official, do you want him reviewing it? Maybe not. I don't know. Or would you rather have a group of experts or folks that have that knowledge taking a look at this stuff? It's not my goal to overburden the tree preservation board whatsoever. It's simply to offer the best possible service we can and get it right when it comes down to it.
Like I said, maybe coming up with a list of approved native plants or wildflowers would assist anybody. Just maybe review is not necessary. Here it is. I'm just going to plant these. And,
So
I don't know.
I think it's a good idea about the list, and also, potentially put it out for residents to attend a tree preservation board meeting and have that discussion, make their inputs on what they would like to see on that list, and then the tree preservation board would make that list, follow some sort of process like that. And I agree it'd be pretty smart or be prudent to use the subject matter expert in this situation, and I like the case by case scenario.
As I said, and again, we just tried consistent with what little guidance we had.
There's no, in my opinion, Carl, there's no criticism in that.
I understand.
But it's simply getting it right.
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
So that's why we're discussing it. Yeah,
agree.
but anyway, my comments were it's way too subjective of a proposal as written, and therefore it needs to be readdressed.
Okay. So
What do you want us to do?
So with that, I need a motion. And that motion would have to contain some items for direction.
Or
Or
have more of a discussion here, get a consensus, and then table this. And let us come back with a revised first reading.
fair
But
enough.
we just need guidance. We just need
Fair
to
enough.
know where we want to go with this.
So to me, it makes sense that the Tree Preservation Board has input along with the public to attend one of their meetings and provide that helpful input and insight. And yeah, it does make sense to table this until we can come up with some revised language that hopefully gets it right, or as close to right as we possibly can. We all know that ordinances are never perfect, so we want to try to get as close as we can, though.
So would the suggestion be then to have a workshop that is hosted at a tree preservation board meeting to discuss this particular ordinance modification? Is that the suggestion?
Or have the Tree Preservation Board come up with
I would say I think that'd be their job to figure out their process.
Approved plants and that thing. So you know.
No, I think that's way too cumbersome and out of the
Okay.
scope of the tree preservation board.
Okay.
So,
Since we have Adam Lucy here, can we maybe speak to him and see if you think that's out of the scope or something that the tree board can do?
Well, hold on. I would just like to state that the board was created to be the subject matter expert on the situation, and the board is going to do what their due diligence and processes, and then ultimately it would come to the city council for final approval for situation. So I 100% disagree. I think it's well within their scope to determine what would be acceptable. So
I agree with that, and the fact that this has come up with members of the audience, and it would help bring some attendance to those tree preservation board meetings where they can get some feedback and more education. So I think more involvement from citizens is warranted here. So I agree with that 100%.
Lucy.
Sure.
No pressure.
I wouldn't say that it's beyond our scope as a board. I think that list may be fairly exhaustive. And I'm not sure if the development of such a list would really be relevant to include in an ordinance like this. What would be the point of developing this list of native plants that a homeowner would be allowed to include in their landscaping and apply for a permit?
My concern is a person's definition of a native plant. I don't know that I know what it is. I don't know that.
Or a wildflower.
Or wildflower. Correct. So, I mean, so one man's weed is another man's wildflower,
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, to define it would be to develop a specific list of species.
And honestly, I don't know. I know the University of Florida publishes
Yep.
a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anything, I mean, if there's anything there that they have and you could just adopt their list of
It's
reference.
possible, yeah. They do have a pretty extensive list of native
Everything.
species, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would think would be borrowing from stuff that is,
Yeah.
things that are already published. I get it, probably is quite extensive. But if that resource is out there to pull from, that gives you a starting point, could be an end point for that matter, if it's that comprehensive of a list.
Okay. So just to clarify, am I understanding that at least the council's wish is for the tree board to develop that list or provide input to the reworking of the language within the ordinance?
Both.
Both.
so
Well, I mean, folks are here tonight to talk about critiques of the ordinance as it's written now, which is perfectly fine. And so we want your input. We this is a kind of a specialized subject matter to a certain extent, and
You're
I don't
our
profess to be an
workshop.
expert,
So-
that's for sure. Some are more so than others, and so I would prefer to have input from folks that are in the know, that really are passionate about this.
Okay.
Again, the overall attempt is just to get it right. That's all.
And I think, like I said, everybody that applied for the tree preservation board had a pretty good resume and had a pretty good background. So I, as the deputy mayor, have 100% full faith in you guys to handle this situation. Only recommendation I had earlier was to open it up, public notice for input from the residents to potentially, have those conversations that you guys would be better at having than I would on Wildflowers, but and then create a product, and then it would go through the process. That was my recommendation.
Okay.
Adam, the only advice I can give you is a lot of time for that workshop, because I know how long you guys go in some of these workshops, some of these meetings. So be ready.
Yep.
I think they can handle it.
I guess final question is, do we want to work sort of within the framework of the existing language, or is this open for complete rework? Can we have some guidance, I guess, is what I'm asking?
My suggestion is you review the language as it is now. Make your suggestions on the language. If there's paragraphs or portions that you don't think should be there, so be it. Mark it up.
Okay.
You guys mark that up, and then in addition to that is the plant list. They kind of go hand in hand. Ultimately, I think when a revised ordinance is drafted, then it would include that plant list.
Okay.
Let me make a suggestion here. You're going to have to look at Chapter 107 as well. You have to, because they're a little bit meshed. We didn't amend Chapter 107 because we wanted to get this moving along. 107 is land development. It would have to go to P&Z as well. Mm-hmm. This one would not go to P&Z. But if we're going to do if we're going to do this, then you're going to have to look at 107 and compare it to what we got in 10-2 and fix it.
And that's the point that I was making earlier that I think got misinterpreted, is that the ordinance modification was discussed at the last Tree Preservation Board, and there was a lot of concern and questions, and a lot of the things I discussed, a lot of the things that the public talked about today. So it was very much in need of, be looked at. But when I meant that out of scope for the Tree Preservation Board in writing an ordinance, that the enforcement of the ordinance and the review of permits, if they decide that a permit is required, should not be incumbent upon the Tree Preservation Board to review a permit, because reviewing permits, I think, is something that should be incumbent upon staff and not a volunteer appointed board. That was my intent in that particular comment.
And just, I conferred with John, it's a no-fee permit too, or application as well. Whoever y'all want to review it, then that's fine.
Well, that's part of the comments. You guys discuss it and
Okay.
decide what you feel works best and what's most appropriate.
Understood.
Okay.
Got your marching orders.
All right.
Thank you.
So I think that, again, entertain a motion. I think it's heading in the direction of potentially tabling the item.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table the wildflower ordinance until we have further input from our subject matter experts, Tree Preservation Board, and attorney.
I'll second that.
I have a motion.
I'm no expert.
A motion by Deputy Mayor Dyer and a second by Councilmember Iorio. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 10B, award of contract for design and construction administration services related to the Fire Station Annex Project, RFQ 2026-05. City Manager Coffey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Previously, the city issued an RFQ for the design. Then the city council confirmed the rankings of the respondents, which CPC Architects, Inc. was the top-ranked firm. Over the last couple months, staff has negotiated the attached proposed cost and services. Of the $427,000, $308,000 is the actual design, with $118,000 for construction administration services of an estimated 12-month construction project. Therefore, staff recommends the council award a not to exceed $430,000 contract to CPC Architects, Inc.
Okay, thank you. I've taken a look at the contract that was submitted. The fees and the services are comprehensive for the project, and my opinion is the fees are within a reasonable amount. I'll leave it at that. Anybody else have any comments? No? I'd entertain a motion.
I do have one comment. I'm seeing the different options on the site plan. John, could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there's an option A and option B, I think, in there.
Option 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If you're talking, that was their proposal.
That was their promotional or
Yeah,
their
that-
RFQ?
that was
for the
their
request for
RFQ.
qualifications
Oh,
as
okay,
opposed
yeah,
to-
The specific design is based on where the tennis courts currently are, removing the add-on building that Chief Lewis can tell you what's in there, and then building the annex on that side, improving the needed site improvements.
Okay, that makes sense. I would just provide the input on, the housing. It seems like, it makes sense just to have enough for what you would have on a regular ship, but, you got to think about housing firemen and firewomen for the worst case scenario, which would be, hurricane situations where you have two shifts. I'm sure you're well aware of this. I'm just trying to elaborate why it would have more lodging than what is required on a daily staffing purpose. So typically in a hurricane situation, you'd have enough lodging for two shifts to work 12-hour shifts up to a 72-hour time period. So that's why it would be more than just the regular 3 that would be required to run a regular station, right?
That's correct, sir. In addition to that, with this being a modern emergency services facility, you would have a little bit extra space to house folks from maybe the police department who are on shift or from city services, IT. This building's non-sprinkled. You can't have folks sleeping in a non-sprinkled building. This would solve a lot of those problems. And we're team players.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Do you have a motion?
Motion to award a not to exceed $430,000 contract to CPZ Architects Incorporated.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Romy, second by Councilmember Nutt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 10C, granting of easements to Florida Power and Light at the Algonquin Sports Complex. City Manager Coffee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In 2014, the city entered into an interlocal agreement with Brevard County for the construction operation of the communication tower at Algonquin. 2 easements were required for the tower, FPL for the power and AT&T fiber line. The FPL current easement runs east to west and is currently located underneath where the synthetic multipurpose field will go. The AT&T fiber line runs north and south, basically from the east side of Osceola up to the tower. The design of the project assumed relocation of the power easement south of the multipurpose field to be shared with the additional line for the energy of the area. I'm going to roll to this map here. However, upon a site visit by FPL engineer, if things will pop up. Okay. FP&L would not co-locate both the existing power line. The current line runs straight across here. So the one easement will be approximately where this black location line is to the communications tower. The second easement runs to the south to terminate where the cursor is where the transformer will be. Therefore, FP&L has currently designed the runs. They are waiting on approval of the easements to schedule the work. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone in council have any comments? Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Nickel to execute the easement forms on behalf of the city.
Second.
A motion from Deputy Mayor Dyer, second by Councilmember Romy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 10D, resolution number 26-03, which is authorizing a city council meeting outside the city. City Manager Coffey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Florida statute requires governing bodies such as the city council to hold meetings in the jurisdiction. There is a clause that joint meetings with other agencies can be held outside the city under certain circumstances. City Attorney Bone believes the proposed joint muck removal project meets that. I emailed the resolution to y'all, I believe, earlier. Do you have a copy? Yes, okay. I just want to make sure Nikki could read the title. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on council have any comments?
I just have one question. Is there, John, is a representative from the county going to be there to answer any questions?
I have a meeting with the satellite city manager next Monday to develop the agenda. We can invite.
I think that'd be wise,
Yes,
considering there were so many unanswered questions when we had our meeting. So I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. So would entertain a motion. No. Nikki?
All right, resolution number 26-03, a resolution of the City of Indian Harbor Beach, Brevard County, Florida, scheduling the time and place for the city council to hold a special meeting outside the city in accordance with Florida statute section 166.02132, providing severability and an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Now I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
A motion by Deputy Mayor Dyer and a second by Councilmember Romey. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next is public forum. We have one person who has filled out a speaker card. It's Sharon Rice. Sharon, if you'd please come up and state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Sharon Rice, 205 Micanopy, Indian Harbor. I want to say hi to Mr. Coffey. So I have given you a list here. I only have one, but I've had, I moved here from, we retired after 25 years of active duty service and moved here from Patrick and came to our dream home in Indian Harbor about a year ago. And it has turned into our dream home of hell because of one neighbor. So, and we all know that they are well aware and they are really handling it as best as we can. But by reading some of the information, one of them, it's Justin Heitman at 213 Tempucci. We had our flag upside down for about a week when my husband got doged from Department of Energy about a year ago. And since then, he has targeted us. We have biracial children. He has called them the N-word. Jigaboo, we have it all on video. He has threatened to have KKK rallies. He has multiple signs that are in his yard against me. Was started with us. Now it's Mr. Coffey, it's Indian Harbor, it's everywhere, and every time we have an injunction, he does not follow it. So I have gone off of, one of them is the animal off leash. I have been told that that should be a Brevard County. Brevard County, therefore, I think we've put in 8 different requests. And they say, actually, it can be Indian Harbor too. And that service animals, as you see, even under ADA requirements, must be under handler or leashed, etc. This has been going on a full year. Zero compatibility. Like none. And I have never spoken to the man, but he has called me every name in the book every time he sees me. I come from the library. He calls me FNC. It's always in his golf cart. Okay, so that pertains to the dog issue, and I mean, it's got to get under compliance. But the big one is the signs. He rotates them. One time he put 40 Gadsden flags in our yard. Then he took those flags and then started putting them all over city property. Those got torn down. He blamed us. He blamed us when his golf cart got, pulled over. We always get in trouble for it. I mean, even today, he called me names, and I am to the point where the city ordinances either need to be changed or they need to be complied by. This has been going on a year, so, especially with the signs. It's in there and it's black and white, and somebody needs to do something about that, so.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Chief, Carl?
At the last meeting, I reported about some code enforcement stuff we had, and this was one of them, but only at the beach, not with this
Right.
lady's private, situation here. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with what's going on. I don't know. We got to be careful about free speech, too.
Well, I think what I'm thinking of is.
And I understand she's tried to get, repeat violence or injunctions from.
You have freedom of speech, but you also have consequences of freedom of speech.
Oh, I'm not, listen, I'm not standing up for the guy. I'm just saying these are the issues we will have to look into. Injunctions are fine, but it's as good as the piece of paper it's issued on. I know that, ma'am. Believe me. So,
So I guess what I would like to see would be Chief Carl Chief. You guys talk about this so he can be brought up to speed on the specific issues. Well, right. So I think he would need to have the benefit of the history and what has happened and what the police department has done and all of that, so that he can take a good look at it and kind of provide his opinion on what we can and can't do, and within reason, and what we're legally allowed to do.
I'm familiar with this resident, and you're not the only one that he's been terrorizing in this neighborhood. So, and it is just that. He is terrorizing the neighborhood around there.
Okay. So, all
I
right.
just want to add that I'm sorry you're going through this. I know who you're talking about, and I hate hearing that you moved here to your retirement house and you have to deal with this. It stinks, and something I'm sure can be done. Carl will think of something, I hope.
All right.
But I just want to make one question, though, to Chief Butler, though. If this particular person is continuing to violate the leash law, then if residents are calling the police department saying we're observing a violation of the leash law, then the police department would respond and act appropriately, correct?
Yes, sir. I know that I've talked to Mrs. Rice and her husband. We're working with the county. They're the experts in animal services as it relates to these leash laws, ADA issues, and it becomes a little more complicated. So I've referred her to the sheriff's office. I know the sheriff's office, I think, is continuing to work with you, right? I know you've made complaints to them, and the same lady that you've been talking to? Check on that tomorrow. I will check on that and give you a call tomorrow, because that's not what they told me. So we'll work it. We'll figure it out. One way or the other, we will figure this out. I'll get with Carl and the ADA requirements and making sure that the city's in good legal standing. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Nutt, second by Councilmember Yorio. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, and we are adjourned.